Okay, coming up next, Paul Sartory and Peggy Howe are chef entrepreneurs. Paul has been an executive chef for the past 30 years. Highlights include winning the American edition of the Bocuse d'Or in France and opening the Wine Spectator restaurant in Napa Valley. He's now presently the professor of culinary arts right here at the CIA San Antonio campus. You may know that over there. And Peggy Howe is a self-taught contractor, a landlord, a caterer, an actor, and a restaurant manager, and has spent the last 20 years happily immersed in the restoration of a series of historic homes, which is very important. It says here, smitten. She did not hesitate when Chef Paul first proposed marriage and then opening their very own neighborhood eatery called Outlaw Kitchens and Provisions. Some very unusual stories here with Paul and Peggy. Paul.
That's how we practiced. Okay, ready? Okay. Hi, I'm Peggy Howe, and this is my husband, Chef Paul Sartory. Together we own and operate a small business called Outlaw Kitchens, chef-driven meals delivered to your doorstep.
The idea is that I cook just one dish daily. Every dinner is handmade by me, from growing it or purchasing it to plating it, from start to finish, just me. Each day's menu is the best that the season, the market, and my experience has to offer, at a price that's affordable. That's the key. People should be able to eat well every night of the week, not just on special occasions.
Because that's how we eat. Every night I come home to this most spectacular dinners.
When I'm not bringing home our church's 9-piece mixed.
So why shouldn't everybody eat just as well as us? Well, because you guys didn't marry a chef. Sorry. And because it's too expensive. I mean, you have to have enough expendable cash to pay a professional chef, plus a hostess, plus an owner, plus a manager, plus some guy who parks your car. And then you have to have enough energy to get dressed and go out and get it, right? So that's where the outlaw part comes into it. Paul cooks exactly what he thinks is the absolute best that night. And then we bring it to you. Or you can stop by and pick it up on your way home from work.
So, of course, in order to make this somewhat radical approach to dining out affordable, and for both Peggy and I, as well as our patrons, we knew that we'd have to cut out the fat.
So everything that was not essential to the food itself, linens, wine cellars, rent, investors, had to go. We needed to own it outright, and we needed to live on the premises in order to lower our overhead even further.
And we also needed some neighbors who wouldn't mind a quarter-acre of garden, a few chickens, and perhaps a couple of goats. And we needed a property that was somewhat off the beaten path, something outlaw-esque, something that Peggy has made a career of finding.
As luck would have it, Pauline Casanova of Pauline's Beauty Salon in Alta Vista returned a letter that I had written to her about her building. It seems that at the age of 80, she was going to retire from the beauty salon business, and she offered to sell us her house. It was a no-brainer. It was perfect.
So we had the building, we had a home, and we had a neighborhood. How best could we introduce ourselves to our new neighbors, and in what way could we contribute? What does every neighborhood wish they had?
A grocery. So we tweaked our idea a little bit, and we are now called Outlaw Kitchens and Provisions, a neighborhood grocery and takeaway eatery. We'll serve Paul's dinners, plus the essentials, wine, beer, charcuterie, and the staples, toilet paper, dog food. It turns out Paul makes our dog Zeke's dinners once a month, freezes it in big batches of chicken stew, and then all we had to do was chase Zeke around the backyard to get the perfect photo.
So we've been actively working on this concept since moving here from New York 2.5 years ago. But I'm actually thinking about this for much longer, perhaps as long as I've been cooking professionally, and that's really quite a long time. I began my cooking career after graduation from the Culinary Institute of America at the age of 20. I spent the following 35 years opening high-profile restaurants and clubs and teaching for the Culinary Institute of America, and I even won a few major awards.
Paul had the honor of representing the United States at the Bocuse d'Or in Lyon, France. He opened the Wine Spectator restaurant in Napa Valley, a very big deal. And for many years, he ran the kitchens of America's top 2 country clubs, the Cherokee Town and Country Club in Atlanta and the Belle Meade of Nashville. And as a young man, Paul worked and studied with Alain Ducasse in Monaco.
So I've learned a tremendous amount having had these experiences. First off, I found that there's really no substitute for the integrity of the ingredients. When I was in Monaco, there were products that were brought to Ducasse's restaurant. They were unbelievable. The purveyors were so proud. The cooks were so reverent of the food that was brought to them by these people. I remember this guy who brought us squabs from his home at the foothills of the Alps. And he actually brought them live to the restaurant and geeked them in the parking lot. Well, the group of cooks and I then gathered around and were singeing off the feathers and cleaning the birds and actually brought them into the kitchen warm for that evening's meal. But really, the product was absolutely amazing, perfect, the best I'd ever seen. Second thing that I've learned is that the best of intentions will not replace experience. About the time that you become old, you realize the less that you manipulate the food, the more likely it is to be exceptional. And 3, I learned that no longer wanted to cook for a club in New York City or a restaurant in France where a piece of cake cost $35. I learned that I wanted to cook for my neighbors, my friends, and my families every day, perfectly.
It's movement, my husband tells us, that great cooking is taking place outside of the walls of fancy restaurants, that professionals cooking exceptionally well, but in small amounts for a limited number of customers in an atmosphere more akin to their home than to their business. So we'd like to say thank you for inviting us, and we'd like to thank Vicki very much for her enthusiasm and helpfulness, and Corey Lehman for her fantastic photography, and thank you to Paul's daughter,
Jamie Sartory, for help in designing our presentation.
That's cool. I think these are 2 of the people that have really helped make San Antonio grow in the past few years, along with the Pearl. How did you get to San Antonio? Was it the Culinary Institute, and how do you like it? There's no culture shock, I'm sure, between here and New York and Napa or any place like that.
Well, we were freezing our arses off out there in New York, and when they opened the school here, I told Paul, pack the snowshoes, we were headed to Texas.
And now, where is your outlaw kitchen?
Well, we've been operating out of a friend's commercial kitchen, but we just recently purchased the property that is in Alta Vista, and so by the fall, we'll have opened our new place.
And are you going to stay here, or are you planning to stay in San Antonio?
Oh, gosh, I love it here.
That's it.
And now, one last question, because I know a lot of these creative people here are, they're looking to hook up with each other is what they're doing. And so when you spend so much time with each other like this, is there any challenge maybe that you could share with the others after a few years together?
I'd love to hear the answer to that.
You're like, Dr.
We don't
Phil,
know
come on,
yet,
share
Jess.
this.
Well, I stay out of while Peggy is drywalling, and she doesn't mess around much in the kitchen. Yeah.
Okay.
So it works perfectly.
That's a politic answer. Thanks very much. Give them a hand. Paul and Peggy Howe.